I've always prided myself on keeping my life simple. No wild nights, no reckless habits, just a quiet routine I can count on. So when I tell you what happened last Halloween, know it wasn't some trick of a foggy mind or a haze of too much whiskey. It was real, and it's haunted me ever since. I live on the edge of a small town in the Midwest, where the fields stretch wide and the nights grow long. My friend Ethan throws an annual costume party at his family's cabin, tucked deep in the woods about an hour's drive from my place. It's a tradition I never miss. Good music, warm cider, and a chance to escape the everyday grind. That year, the invite came scribbled on a postcard, promising a night of chills and thrills. I couldn't wait. The weather turned bitter just before Halloween, the kind of cold that bites at your knuckles and fogs your breath. I set out in my beat-up pickup, the heater rattling as I wound through narrow back roads lined with skeletal trees. Normally, I hate using my high beams. Other drivers flash theirs like they're out to blind you. But that night, the darkness swallowed everything. The road twisted through the forest, a lonely ribbon of gravel with no houses, no lights, just the occasional flicker from an old hunting shed I'd passed 100 times. I always thought it was abandoned, but sometimes I'd catch a faint glow inside, like a lantern swaying in the shadows. It never sat right with me. A few miles in, my headlights caught something. A flash of pale blue against the black woods. As I got closer, my chest tightened. It was a figure standing off the road, motionless, facing away from me. A woman, draped in a tattered blue dress that fluttered in the wind, too thin for the freezing night. She didn't flinch, didn't turn, just stood there, a ghostly silhouette in the glare of my lights. I gripped the wheel, my pulse thudding in my ears. Part of me screamed to keep driving, but another part wondered if she was lost, maybe hurt. Could she be headed to Ethan's party? I slowed down, debating, but as I passed, I glanced in my side mirror. In the red glow of my taillights, she turned, slowly, deliberately, watching me go. My skin prickled. That wasn't someone looking for a ride. I made it to the cabin around 7 p.m., parking among the scattered cars in the dirt clearing. The party was in full swing, laughter spilling out, the smell of bonfire smoke in the air. We danced, toasted marshmallows, and stayed up past midnight, the woods alive with our noise. But that woman lingered in my mind, a splinter I couldn't shake. When the last guest trickled out, I stuck around to help Ethan stack chairs and douse the fire. By the time I climbed back into my truck, it was just me, the dying embers, and the endless night. I turned the key, and the dashboard lit up with a tire pressure warning. It's an old rig. Those alerts pop up every fall when the cold hits. I figured I'd limp home fine, but that woman's face in my mirror gnawed at me. Was she still out there? I could have taken the highway back, added 30 minutes to dodge that road, but it was late, and I was bone tired. I told myself I'd be fine. I was wrong. Barely 5 minutes down that cursed road, the truck started to wobble. A grinding screech tore through the silence. Metal. On asphalt. My heart sank as I coasted to a stop, the engine coughing out. "You've got to be kidding me," I whispered, dread pooling in my gut. Did my tires just give out? I stepped into the frigid dark, shutting off the truck. The headlights died, and the forest swallowed me whole. With my phone's shaky light, I checked the tires, and froze. All four were shredded, gashed open like something had clawed them apart. This wasn't a pothole or bad luck. Someone did this. My breath hitched, fogging in the air, as I stood there, stranded, the woods pressing in. Then it hit me, a stillness so deep it hurt. The wind stopped howling, the branches quit creaking, even the crickets fell silent. It was like the world held its breath. A twig snapped, sharp, close, and I killed my light, plunging into blackness. Leaves crunched, slow and deliberate, circling me. Not an animal. This was heavier, purposeful. My mouth went dry. "I see you," a voice whispered, soft as a sigh, drifting from the trees maybe 10 feet away. It was her, calm, almost tender, and that made it worse. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. "Can you see me?" she asked again, closer now. Panic clawed up my throat. I fumbled my phone back on, the beam trembling as I swung it toward her. There she was, at the edge of the woods, pale as death, her blue dress stained with dirt and something darker. Her gray hair hung wild, framing a face that made my stomach lurch. Half of it gone, a jagged ruin, yet her lips twisted into a smile. I bolted, legs pumping, lungs burning, back toward Ethan's cabin. Twigs cracked behind me. She was coming. Adrenaline drowned out my fear, and I lost her in the maze of trees. I pounded on Ethan's door, voice raw as I begged to be let in. His mom opened it, wide-eyed, pulling me inside as I spilled the whole nightmare. Her, the tires, the chase. They listened, faces pale, and let me crash there, calling the cops and a tow truck while I huddled on their couch, shaking. But it wasn't over. At 3:14 a.m., a tap jolted me awake, a pebble against the upstairs window. No blinds, just glass between me and the dark. "I see you," she whispered again, muffled but unmistakable. She'd followed me. Rocks pinged the window as I curled tighter under the blanket, praying for dawn. When the sun finally rose, she was gone. Ethan's dad found a rusted blade in the yard. Old, blood-streaked, not theirs. The tires? Her work, no doubt. She trailed me from the start, waited while I laughed at the party. The cops searched that shed later, empty but surrounded by gutted animals, their insides strewn like warnings. They never found her. I still go to Ethan's parties, but I carpool now, take the long route, and pray she's forgotten my face. How she spoke so clearly with half hers missing, I'll never understand.